The year is 2025. The world's eyes are fixed on France, not for its art, cuisine, or romance, but for a crisis that threatens the very core of the nation. Economic stagnation, soaring debt, and relentless strikes have left the nation reeling. Once bustling shops now stand empty. Factories are shuttered, and the streets echo with the chants of frustrated workers demanding change. President Macron, weakened and out of options, faces a public desperate for relief. His government is battered by criticism, and the pressure mounts with every passing day. Into this void steps China, offering a multi-billion-euro lifeline. The deal is swift, bold, and impossible for France to ignore. While the US is distracted by its own turmoil, and Europe dithers in endless debate, Beijing acts decisively, presenting itself as France's savior at a moment of maximum vulnerability. The deal is more than a loan. It's a political rescue, a chance to calm unrest, restore hope, and perhaps even save Macron's government from collapse. But China's motives are strategic. France is a UN Security Council member, a nuclear power, and a potential wedge in the Western alliance. Securing influence here could shift the balance of global power. By helping when others hesitate, China positions itself as a reliable partner, eager to fill the vacuum left by the West's indecision. The French government hails the deal as pragmatic diplomacy, a necessary step in extraordinary times, but unease simmers beneath the surface. Is this a partnership of equals, or is France trading its independence for short-term stability? The question lingers in every debate and every cafe conversation. The golden handshake from Beijing is reassuring, but some fear its grip may tighten over time, binding France to obligations it cannot easily escape. China's intervention is calculated, a bet on France as the cornerstone of its European ambitions, a gateway to influence across the continent. The public, weary but hopeful, wonders, what's the real cost of this rescue? Will the benefits outweigh the risks, or is France mortgaging its future? The crisis has opened a door, and China has walked through it with a smile and a bag full of cash, ready to reshape the future of France. France's vulnerability has become China's opportunity, and the world is watching to see how this new relationship unfolds. The world watches as a proud nation faces a fateful choice, one that could redefine alliances and reshape Europe's destiny. Will this lifeline save France, or bind it to Beijing's will for generations to come? The answer will shape not just France, but the future of Europe, and perhaps the world order itself. The stakes have never been higher. France stands at a crossroads, and the world holds its breath. China's financial package is dazzling. Low-interest loans, direct investments, and bailouts for French industry. The scale and speed of these offers are unprecedented, with billions flowing into sectors once considered untouchable by foreign capital. On paper, it's a win-win. France gets much-needed cash injections, while China secures lucrative returns and a foothold in Europe's second-largest economy. But the real price is hidden in the fine print. Political strings woven into every euro, with clauses that quietly shift the balance of power. Beijing expects reciprocity, softer criticism on human rights, support for Chinese interests in the EU, and privileged access to sensitive sectors like technology and infrastructure. French diplomats now tread carefully, avoiding moves that might anger Beijing, aware that a single misstep could jeopardize billions in investment. When a Chinese firm eyes a French tech company, Paris hesitates to block the deal, weighing economic benefits against national security concerns. Dependency is growing, shifting the relationship from partnership to patronage as more French industries come under Chinese influence. The term silent colonization emerges. China isn't conquering France with armies, but buying influence, one investment at a time, reshaping the economic landscape. Each loan is another thread in a web of dependency, tightening China's grip on key sectors and decision-making processes. France's sovereignty is quietly eroded, traded for economic stability and the hope of revitalizing struggling industries. The government walks a tightrope, balancing Western alliances and traditional values with new obligations to Beijing, often forced to compromise. The bargain is clear: solvency for alignment, with every euro received carrying an unspoken expectation of loyalty. For a nation that prides itself on independence, it's a bitter pill. Sweetened by the promise of recovery, but shadowed by a sense of loss. The cost of China's billions is measured not just in euros, but in lost autonomy, as decisions once made in Paris are now influenced from Beijing. France's future is now entangled with Beijing's ambitions, its path shaped by the invisible hand of Chinese investment and influence. Chinese capital is transforming France at breakneck speed. What began with vineyard purchases has shifted to strategic assets, ports, tech, and industry. COSCO Shipping now controls key terminals in Le Havre and Marseille, reshaping trade routes. Tech giants like Huawei lure top French talent, while Chinese venture funds dominate the startup scene. Even the automotive sector feels the shift, with Dongfeng Motor gaining influence over Stellantis. French companies, desperate for capital, become reliant on Beijing. This economic entanglement gives China powerful leverage. Policy decisions in Paris now echo Beijing's interests. The dragon's claws are sunk deep. Pulling them out would be painful, if not impossible. France's economy is no longer just French, it's part of China's global strategy. President Macron faces a political nightmare. Chinese money keeps the economy afloat and unrest at bay, but at a cost. Brussels and Washington watch with alarm, fearing France's drift undermines Western unity. The US warns of dependency, while the EU sees France as putting national interests above European solidarity. Macron champions strategic autonomy, but critics call it a smokescreen for growing Chinese influence. Every deal with Beijing widens the credibility gap with France's allies. Lean too far east, and France risks isolation. Push back, and the economic lifeline vanishes. Macron is trapped, balancing national survival against international allegiance. The tightrope sways with every step. The question isn't if he'll fall, but which side he'll land on. France's choices now threaten the very fabric of the European project. The world waits to see which way Paris will turn. France's pivot to China is straining its bond with Germany, the EU's engine. Berlin, wary of Beijing's ambitions, pushes for a united European front. Paris's unilateral deals play into China's divide-and-conquer strategy, fragmenting EU unity. Other member states, seeing France's example, may deepen their own ties with Beijing. The EU is paralyzed, torn between German caution and French pragmatism, the risk a race to the bottom, with states competing for Chinese favor at the expense of solidarity. The China dilemma is now existential for Europe. Can the EU hold together, or will it fracture under external pressure and internal division? China's influence campaign goes beyond money. It's about winning French hearts and minds. Confucius Institutes expand in universities, offering a curated view of Chinese culture. Lavish festivals, art shows, and academic exchanges build networks among French elites. Chinese media partner with French outlets, shaping the narrative and countering criticism. Diplomats charm local leaders, promising investment and cooperation. For many French citizens, China becomes a visible, benevolent partner. Jobs, culture, and opportunity. This soft power makes Beijing's growing influence seem natural, even desirable. America's retreat from global leadership has left Europe searching for new partners. Macron's call for strategic autonomy is fueled by frustration with Washington's inconsistency. China steps in, offering stability and investment where the US offers only warnings. The lack of a compelling American alternative makes Beijing's offer irresistible. France feels abandoned by its oldest ally, the transatlantic bond fraying. The pivot east is about more than money, it's about relevance and respect. With Washington absent, China's door is wide open. Paris's search for security and status now leads through Beijing. France's deepening ties with China could make it Beijing's Trojan horse in the West. As the relationship between Paris and Beijing grows stronger, questions arise about the true cost of this newfound partnership. Through Paris, China gains influence over EU policy, access to lucrative markets, and a strategic foothold in the heart of Europe. This partnership allows China to shape decisions that affect the entire continent, subtly shifting the balance of power. French companies increasingly become conduits for Chinese technology, investment, and standards, integrating Chinese interests deep into the fabric of the French economy and society. The cohesion of the West is at risk. A France aligned with Beijing could fracture the EU and NATO from within, undermining decades of unity and shared purpose among Western allies. History warns of the dangers of seductive promises from rising powers, reminding us that short-term gains can lead to long-term consequences that are difficult to reverse. France's internal struggles, economic hardship, social unrest, and rising unemployment make it especially vulnerable to China's siren song of prosperity and investment. The political class bets it can control the relationship and manage the risks, but history suggests otherwise, as foreign influence often proves more difficult to contain than expected. The future of Europe may be decided in Paris, as France weighs the promise of short-term survival against the enduring value of long-term freedom and independence. The outcome is uncertain, but the trajectory is clear. France's choices today will shape the destiny of Europe for generations to come. The world watches as a proud nation stands at a crossroads. Its choice will echo far beyond its borders, influencing the global order in ways we are only beginning to understand.